Entering the Mayo experience.
That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. Experience.
It is the Week 7 rankings on the Pat Mayo Experience presented by Underdog. Code Mayo, turn 5 into $100 of bonus funds, win or lose. If you sign up with Code Mayo and give yourself a pick'em entry, Jake Ciely from theathletic.com, Ian Hartitz from fantasylife.com on the lines. Jake, I have a question for you to kick things off. Ready?
Yeah, sure.
You're still doing your rankings at the top of your rankings column, like your fun rankings, right?
Yeah, well, not at the top, but yes.
Have you done the best wrestling intros ever yet?
You know what? I have a list on my phone, and that's one of the ones on the list for 2025.
You should, I mean, I don't know. Ian, do you have any thoughts on what should be near the top? And I don't know if it's like wrestling intros, like the aesthetics of it, or just theme songs. Because realistically, you could get 2 columns out of that.
It's got to be Chris Jericho, #1, right? Just the entire thing, you know, just standing back to everyone. I think he sings his own song, too. That's got to count for something.
Yeah, I think I would
Well, he
have...
sings his own song in AEW, not WWE. 2 different things. That night, here, are we ready? We're going to go down this rabbit hole.
You see, we were having fun, Jake, and then you had to just go ahead and show there's levels to this, all right? So, yeah, I'm sure you're right, but...
I mean, dude, come on. Like, I have the freaking just made the list Chris Jericho Funko Pop. So what does that tell you?
It really should be. I mean, I don't like the you made the list. If I'm thinking of Jericho and lists, I'm just thinking about him listing off his 1,004 moves on dot matrix printer paper from like 97.
I love that meme, just holding the scroll.
What about Vince's intro? No chance, Jake. That's what you got.
That's a dangerous one, though, because Vince isn't exactly somebody you want to mention too often these days.
Listen, if you're gonna mention wrestling, you can't just
understand what comes with it.
Yeah. Listen, Vince McMahon's not the only bad guy in wrestling history.
I was just gonna say a lot of people will probably vote for Hulk Hogan, and screaming racist. So,
Is the most overrated one though, like The Undertaker, as awesome as the initial dong is? Like, come on, dude, we got stuff to do. Like, how long are we gonna take to walk in the ring?
Did you clip that, Pat?
We can get that one.
As awesome as the original dong is.
Gong.
Dong. I will throw out that I thought that Kane's entrance music was better than the Undertaker's entrance music. That's just me.
Because of the fire or just the song and everything?
Both. Like the fire, the explosion, then the song after it. Like after you get by the gong on the Undertaker, there's really not much to it.
I will say, when you're in person and they do a little extra for the Undertaker, there's kind of almost nothing like that. Barker's getting riled up over here, as you can hear in the background. By the way, can I talk about so you talk about aesthetics and all that type of stuff, your graphic? Nicole complimented it and really sent a dig my way at the same time. I was like, it's Tombstone. Look how awesome it is. And I was like, you know what? I look really pale in that picture. And she's like, well, you're Doc Holliday, and he had tuberculosis, so it fits. And I'm like, do you realize that that's kind of really insulting, honey?
Hey, shout out to Ian. Ian's the one who came up with the Tombstone theme.
That's not true. I came up with it. He just reminded you of it.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Ian. I was stealing Jake's credit.
Well, what have you done for me lately? You guys know how it
And
is.
I look like I have tuberculosis, everybody.
Do you have tuberculosis? Do you have to move to Arizona? Is that what we're saying?
That's what it is. That's why I'm missing the tooth until January. There you go.
You got to get into those arid places to make sure that you can really use all of the lungs and recover yourself. Let's jump into the Week 7 rankings. We're almost halfway home in terms of fantasy. All Ian's rankings, which we are using for the purposes of this show. If you're watching along on YouTube Live right now, we're here every single Tuesday morning at 10:45 a.m. Eastern. We'll be taking questions along with the rankings during the show. But you can find Ian's rankings at fantasylife.com. The direct link is down in the description and comment section right now if you want to grab those and just follow along that way. Jake's will be available this evening at theathletic.com, and mine gets sent directly to you through my free newsletter. You can sub to that all down in the comment section right now. Mine come out on Wednesday afternoon along with a full injury report. Here's what we're looking at for injuries at running back at the moment. Chuba Hubbard, Bucky Irving, Aaron Jones. Is Aaron Jones eligible to come off IR? Because it's been 4 weeks, but it's only been 3 games. And now I asked ChatGPT, and that didn't know. So, Jake, I'll ask you.
I thought the initial report when it first happened was after the bye. So was that the exact timeline? Did he? Because sometimes it happens. Oh, Ian might know.
I think he's got one more. I'm looking at ESPN. It says estimated return date October 23rd. So sounds like more of a week 8 thing.
There you go.
So Aaron Jones probably not playing. Obviously, Trey Benson, he's on IR. Murray and Hampton is on injured reserve as well. And Chris Rodriguez did not play in the Monday night game. So no words, not that you're playing Chris Rodriguez anyway. None of the Washington running backs looked overly good on Monday Night Football. So we'll see where they end up in the rankings. Before we jump into it, we had the Vidal, Sassoon, and Haskins debate last week. I will take brief victory on that one because I think you should just pick a side and go with it. And I went with Vidal. So, you flip a coin. Eventually you get right. But going forward, yes, it looks like Vidal, Ian, but I would throw some pause on everyone who thinks he's just like a smash start at this point because he doesn't get to play the Dolphins every week.
That is the big thing. And also, we saw how quickly some of these backfields can change, a la the Arizona Cardinals, when Michael Carter looked like the clear RB1, and then Bam Knight was coming in and complicating things. So if you guys do go back and watch that Justin Herbert to Lab McConkey, game-clinching completion, watch Hassan Haskins that entire play because he threw a nice block for Herbert and then got all the way downfield to help spring McConkey for another 15, 20 yards. So didn't exactly see any plays, I believe inside the 5-yard line. That should be where Haskins eats. So great game from Vidal. I do think he deserves, that low-end RB2 treatment, but still we got the trade deadline coming up. It's a situation where if he is still out there on your waiver wire, I'm fine, going 20, 30% of fab to try to get the guy, and every team is different, but I'm not so sure we're immediately looking at, a top 15 RB the rest of the season or anything like that.
No, I put him in the RB2-3 conversation. We had this conversation last week with the rankings. Vidal was higher in my waiver column. And then Thursday rolls around and it's like, oh, Hassan Haskins is going to be the lead. And then Sunday morning, even more so, Hassan Haskins is going to be the lead. And Nyheim Hines, that's why they signed him off the practice squad. And I kind of bought into that and I moved down Vidal and I had Haskins in front of him and we got bad information. Should have stuck with what we talked about last week and the gut that we were talking about of the players and their abilities. Everything, even though same, is you're still looking at what Ian just said. It's still an RB2-3. I don't think Haskins is going to be used like Bam Knight was with the Cardinals. But the point of being like inside the 5-10 yard line, you have that risk of Haskins stealing those touches. And there is no Dolphins every single week, as you brought up, Pat. But he's still somebody that, as an RB2 or 3, I think, and I'm not saying this at Ian, I'm saying this for everybody out there, just in general, because. Yes, it's 100% at Ian. Because I get the questions in the comments over The Athletic, too, about like the Breece Hall, Alvin Kamara, and all these, like, what if he gets traded? What if he gets traded? What if he gets traded? These happen like 1 in 20 times. Like, people only remember the trades when they happen and not the 19 other rumored trades that never happen. If Vidal never has a trade come into that backfield, they don't sign another, like, actual relevant player off the street, this could be Vidal's job. There's now talk that Amarian Hampton's missing well past the 4 weeks. So it could be his job all the way to the fantasy playoffs, if not beyond. And no, he's not going to be top 15. I agree with Ian. But as an RB2 or 3, kind of in that 20 to 28 range, absolutely. And that you can't ignore that.
From the free Mayo Media newsletter. Again, it's on Substack. You can sub for free down in the description. From the Monday Morning, Ian, Rico Dowdle becomes the 6th player over the past decade with multiple 230-yard-plus games. Not the 6th to do it in consecutive weeks, just the 6th overall over the past 10 years to do it. The other guys, Derrick Henry, CMC, Saquon, Julio, Chase. I don't know if Bijan ended up getting there last night because this came out on Monday morning. But Dolphins were one of those games, and Cowboys were one of those games. What does Rico Dowdle look like against a real defense?
It was crazy against the Cowboys where he had like 180 rushing yards and he did not have a long run over 15. It was just literally one 7 or 8 yard gash after another. What a revenge game that was. As he said, buckle up, and he went out there and did his thing. So yeah, the matchups have been good. And also Chuba Hubbard could be back this week, but I don't know. We were sitting here last week saying that, it's probably shrunk at this point and assume that Chuba will still be a lead back. I don't know anymore, man. Rico has just looked so good out there. So I will say that, the Panthers have been doing all this with several starting offensive linemen out. So yes, the schedule should get tougher, but hopefully that offensive line is able to improve. They actually put a good amount of resources in it during this offseason. So I don't know, Pat, I'm kind of riding the wave right now. Again, I got Rico in the top 10, assuming that Chuba Hubbard is out. Yes, the matchups will be getting a little bit tougher, but I don't know, man, you're getting 20, 25 touches per game. I could really care less about the matchups at that point.
I would too, but I don't think that we're looking at the sort of production that he would get every week, even on those 25 touches, because that would just seem impossible. But Jake, if let's say Hubbard is back, because right now Ian has Rico at number 7 in the running back rankings for this week, assuming that there's no Chuba Hubbard. And I think that's a good assumption at that point until we actually see the practice report and see Chuba back on the field. But let's say Chuba is back. Week 1 this week against the Jets. I guess week 7 this week against the Jets. What do you think that the split would be between them in touches out of the backfield? I think it would be pretty close to 50-50 if I had to guess.
I would actually say 50-50. And I think that this comes down to what is NFL and what is fantasy. NFL, they realize they have 2 talented running backs and they don't need to turn to somebody 80% of the time and possibly get hurt again, or, you know, figure out situations of like, oh, he's only our short yard backers. What they have 2 talented options. And we've seen this before from other backfields. I mean, Greg Roman lives and dies by using 2 running backs. So I'm just saying with the Panthers, you can't ignore, as the Panthers, they can't ignore what Dowdle's done the past 2 weeks. I don't care who you face. Like the numbers that you put up against the 2 worst teams, possibly, sure. But like, as you mentioned, what Ian said, like these are Madden numbers to average 7 yards, 7 yards, 7 yards, 7 yards. So you have to use both of them. And that's okay for them. It's just going to be frustrating for us because I think it could be 50-50, but it could also be 50-50 where what happens if Chuba's 50% over the first 10 touches, 8 touches ends up being he can't get anything going. And then all of a sudden it turns to a Dowdle game, or vice versa. Dowdle just struggles and it's a matchup situation where it's just not working as well for him. So I think it's going to be 50-50. I agree with you. And I think you're looking at RB2s for that. But I think the problem is you're always going to have that risk where either one of them could have an RB4 floor.
Ian, where do you think that you would put them into the ranking should both of them be active?
I would give Rico the lean. Obviously, we've seen running backs kind of get eased in coming off the injury.
Yeah.
Looking at him, probably right around RB20 next to Kamani Vidal, Bill Krosky, Merritt. You know, I put him ahead of Ramondre Stevenson, I think, at this point. So probably RB20. And again, to Jake's point, it could be a situation where it's a little bit like Seattle, honestly, with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, where, again, we trust either guy on their own, but together it could be annoying.
Share this show around if you're watching live right now. Get more people into the chat because we are taking questions. You need to be a sub to Mayo Media Network in order to ask questions. So do that. I'll wait. Thank you. Smash a like while you're here as well. Question from Crypto Cairo 3000. He sounds like a robot. But morning. Percentage of fab to use on Tez Johnson, the Tez dispenser. Jake, 12-team, deep league, usually late on prospects. Where would you go on Bo Nix's brother, Tez Johnson?
5% or under. This is potentially a 1 week, maybe 2 week. And the problem with Tez Johnson is he's like smaller Kadarius Toney. Like there's excitement there, and there was excitement for Kadarius Toney when he was doing his thing. But Tez Johnson's going to be your ceiling and an extremely low floor play. Cameron Johnson would be the safer of the two. I have no problem going with the aggressive play in Tez Johnson. But what if Mike Evans, surprisingly, we get Wednesday, Thursday? Oh, he's coming back. Yeah, he's in his time frame. He's in his 3 weeks plus actually, and it was supposed to be less severe than his injury was last year. That's what they initially reported. So Mike Evans potentially coming back, but even if he's out, it's going to be probably Shepard, Cameron Johnson, Tez Johnson, a mix where we could, it would be a good comparison. The Buffalo Bills. It could be any one of the three, and your safest option, Cameron, or actually maybe even Shepard, would be kind of in that Shakir range. So I'm not going that aggressive.
Ian?
I think Jake nailed it. I'm not trying to usually spend unless it's a very unique Puka sort of situation in week 1 back a few years ago. Don't want to spend over 5% real on any wide receiver. I want to keep that fab locked and loaded for the sort of handcuff running backs that appear out of nowhere and really jump up the ranks.
You want to feel old, Jake? Older than probably your bones feel right now?
Older than my tuberculosis keeping my skin pale? Sure.
Correct. Yeah, maybe just get in the sun sometimes. Who knows? Kino in the chat says, Pat and Jake, not a question. But I wanted to say that I started watching this show when I was in junior high school with worst place Mark Ingram, and I have now graduated from college, and I'm still listening.
I don't drink. I need to go. I need to take a walk.
Well, take a walk in the sun at least. You'll look younger, at least for a little bit, until you get too old and your skin looks melty.
I love the support, but holy crap, yeah, that makes me, yeah, we're old, Pat.
Yeah, this is like year 12 or 13 of doing this show together. He does have a question, though. Ian, I'll direct this one at you because Jake kind of brought this up a little bit earlier. Thoughts on buying Breece Hall, considering he probably gets traded? How much better is his value if he ends up in Kansas City or Houston? I think Kansas City is really the only realistic destination unless he gets traded to the Patriots, which I don't think would happen. I would just try to buy Breece Hall in general, Ian, because if he stays on the Jets, he's getting like 90% of the touches out of the backfield. They're useless, but eventually they'll become valuable.
And he looks good. I mean, his explosive play rate, I was noting last week, literally is the best of his career. Because, I mean, man, rookie year, Breece Hall was absolutely electric before that injury. Just haven't quite seen the same guy, or at least we weren't. But honestly, again, this year, he has looked great. So, unfortunately, some ill-timed fumbles near the goal line. You know, we got Justin Fields vulturing some of those scores as well. I don't know how they went a full 60 minutes last week without throwing him the football. You know, they had their whole offensive line out to run that stupid-ass fake punt to Breece Hall. So, I mean, I'm glad the Jets have their priorities right there. But I do think he's playing good football. We're looking at 15 and 20 touches, and we don't have to worry about Braylon Allen near the goal line the same way we did earlier in the year. So I'm very fine buying on him. You know, he does have a pretty tough schedule here over the course of these next 5 weeks. I tweeted out some charts earlier if you guys want to check those out, position by position. But no, I'm cool with buying him. But again, he's kind of a mid-tier RB2 in the ranks. I'm not so sure he's going to be elevating into the RB1 stratosphere unless we do happen to get that Chiefs trade.
Jake, 1-for-1 deals for Breece Hall today made over at Yahoo. Breece Hall for Ladd McConkey, Breece Hall for Rico Dowdle, Breece Hall for Corey Krosky-Merritt, Brock Purdy for Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall for Derrick Henry. I'd do that one. Chuba Hubbard for Breece Hall, Tucker Kraft for Breece Hall, Derrick Henry for Breece Hall. I would make most of those trades. I think Breece Hall is better than almost everyone I named.
I would take. I was trying to find one that I wouldn't take Breece Hall in. I would take Breece Hall down the board, including the Ladd.
You take him over Henry?
I would take him over Henry. Yeah.
I think we're about to see the Ravens really catch fire after this bye. Dude, their schedule, Bears, Dolphins, Vikings, Browns, Jets, Bengals, Steelers, Bengals through week 15. I mean, they're 1-5. Like, they need to win all these games. Henry's still averaging north of 5 yards per pop. Like, he looked good last week when they weren't giving Mark freaking Andrews tush pushes from the 1 yard line. So I know it's been frustrating, but man, I was looking at some of the trades also on the Derrick Henry side of things. I think if you can get this dude for anything close to a mid-tier, you know, RB2 wide receiver 2, man, give me King Henry.
Yeah, you might be right on that. That would be either a bit of a lateral move depending on how you think it goes. I think that I went through the Ravens schedule because I wanted to bet them to win the division, Jake, and they're like plus 140, so there's no real value in it. I think that they will be favored in every game the rest of the season.
I mean, they were already favored in games without Lamar Jackson, so yeah, I'm with you on that. The Breece Hall versus Derrick Henry, what you just said, it's kind of a wash. You're shuffling deck chairs there. So if you want one or the other, the upside is that you have the better floor in case something goes sideways, because you could look at the other argument. I mean, we could play this 10 different ways of like, oh, Lamar Jackson comes back and they don't win games, or he gets hurt again and all of a sudden the season's bust.
Here are 3 1-for-1 deals for Derrick Henry right now. Just to your point, Ian, if you wanted to get him, it's all over the map of how frustrated they are with him at the moment, or how he's valued in certain leagues to certain people. Derrick Henry 1v1 for Amon-Ra St. Brown, Derrick Henry for David Montgomery, Derrick Henry for A.J. Brown. Like I would want Amon-Ra, I feel like, but I think I would want Derrick Henry in the other two circumstances.
Yes.
I like the last two for sure.
Yeah. I wouldn't be giving up Amon-Ra after like one game where he still scored like 15 PPR points.
Like, what? People just want to hate Amon-Ra St. Brown. Nobody wanted to take him in the first round this year, and then he's just doing the same thing he always does, and then one bad game, and it's like, oh, I don't want Amon-Ra St. Brown anymore. Like, possibly more disrespected than any wide receiver.
Last one before we get into the running back rankings, which once again, if you just want to see them, hit the description. You can just follow along with Ian's rankings over at fantasylife.com. Need a 1-week streamer, has Lamar on bye, keep Stafford, or pick up Dart or Darnold for this week. I think you go with Stafford here, even without Puka. It's Dart against Denver. That sounds bad.
That's the problem. Like, I would go, that's what I was going to bring up, is Dart against Denver. I don't really want to start. Like, I have Dart I only have 6 streamers this week because Stafford's over 60% on Yahoo, and it's Stroud, Lawrence, Mac Jones, Darnold, Geno, and then Dart, just because in Denver, I know he's got the rushing upside, and he could still get you 20, but that's a really scary situation to be in, especially if Wan'Dale, like, it's been fun with Wan'Dale Robinson, but Wan'Dale is your number 1 against Surtain and that defense. That's a tough go. So I'm with you. Stafford, even without Nakua, yeah. Darnold, the Houston defense deserves respect.
They're good.
Yeah.
Where would you go?
I don't know. I'd be going with Dart, guys. He literally leads all quarterbacks over Fields, over Lamar Jackson in rushing fantasy points per game. It's been ridiculous out there. 3 straight games with over 50 yards. I think Fields is the only guy with that many, already this season. So
well,
number one,
hold on. We just saw his comp, Justin Fields, play the same defense.
I know, but Dart can actually complete some forward passes. So I'm not saying he's going to go for 300 against the Broncos or anything like that. It is a tough matchup. I don't have him inside my top 12, but I'm just thinking, man, Stafford without Puka, we kind of saw what that looked like last week against a bad Ravens defense. They really couldn't get anything going. So again, I don't think any of them are necessarily slam dunks, but Dart this year, he leads the NFL in quarterbacks in both scramble rate and designed rush rate. So I do feel pretty good about him having, that safer floor. I can't say the same for Stafford and some of those other guys. So I will say deeper, I would take Dart here, but also Michael Penix and then CJ Stroud, if you are looking over the course of these next 2 weeks, pretty good matchups for both.
Currently in second place, would you trade Wandale for Zay Flowers, assuming that Lamar comes back? My instant gut reaction to this, Ian, was absolutely. But Wandale's been pretty good with Dart as the number 1 now.
Yeah, I still believe in Zay. He had the unfortunate fumble last week, but man, he was torching Derek Stingley deep, the week before that. Like, this dude is so ultra talented. It's just unfortunate that the Ravens obviously, are doing their thing with Lamar healthy, scoring plenty of points, but they do spread the ball around. So it's close, but I don't know, man. I think Zay is just such a better real life player. And sure, Wandale might be looking at, an extra target or 2 per game, but I would still take Zay and just the overall offense there.
Jake?
I would go, Zay, to your argument that you usually make throughout the years as long as we've been doing this, Pat, is that you want the guy who can get you 25, even if there's an occasional 5 mixed in there. And with Zay, it's pretty almost like 50-50. Wandale Robinson, he's going to be consistent. He's going to get targets. He's going to be out there, and he's been playing much better now that the offense is letting him do more things downfield. But he's the kind of guy that you're like, okay, I get 8 to 15 every single week. With Zay, you're going to get that 20-25 mixed in there. And if you could deal with that as your wide receiver 3, potentially even 4, because if you're in second place and you're trading Wandale for Zay, Wandale Robinson did not start the season as one of your starting wide receivers, and that's part of the reason why I would also do it.
If it was PPR, not half point, that would
be tough.
If it's PPR, I think it's a bit of a different conversation because you just might get those, basically the minor league version of what we just saw from Amon-Ra on Sunday night, that Wandale puts up an 8 for 41. It's like, okay, good. That's great.
Yeah, I think PPR, I would probably just hold Wandale.
I will say, guys, last 3 weeks, last week was cool and stuff, but Darius Slay was out as well. The 3 weeks before that, Wandale didn't even crack more than 30 yards. So I don't know. I think they're in a different
That was
tier.
Russell Wilson.
Give me Zay, half PPR, standard, whatever you want.
All right. One more, because this is another age-related question. Been here since high school, too. I'm now turning 27 next month. Thanks, Reese. Thoughts on Whittington until Puka returns? I feel like I went down this road last year, and it was nothing but pain. I would want Tutu. Just play Tutu. The guy might catch an 80-yard touchdown. Or get 0 points.
That's what you're looking at. It's the same thing with the Buccaneers situation. Like, Cameron Johnson's going to be safe, but Tez Johnson could get 3 catches, 2 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown. That's Tutu Atwell. Tutu Atwell is gimmicky. His role is not going to change. It's just going to be chuck it downfield, and you might get a big play or 2. If you want Jordan Whittington, that's fine. But nobody is Puka Nacua. Like my cohort over at The Athletic, I don't know, I called him a cohort, but Ted Nguyen, he talked about the fact that Nacua essentially plays almost this like tight end hybrid role a lot of times because of where he lines up, and he does these chip blocks before he does half his routes.
No wonder he keeps getting hurt.
Yeah, that's probably part of it too. Like, stop doing that. Nacua is just, you don't replace him. That's like, oh my gosh, who's going to replace Jamar Chase? This is going to be Yoshivas or what? Like, nobody replaces these wide receivers. So we went down this route with Whittington, and yeah, Whittington could step in and be a wide receiver 4. But to your point, Pat, like, you might as well just chase the, hey, I can turn 2 catches into 80, and I don't need 6 catches to get to 80.
I also disagree that his role won't change. I don't think that just pure within the scheme his role changes, Ian. But I do think that he'll play more snaps because of this. They're not going to give Whittington every Puka snap.
No. Yeah, and look, I don't think I'm rushing to start Whittington, but to Jake's point, he is now a wide receiver 4. What was he last week? Outside my top 80 wide receiver. So no, it's a nice bump there. And really, Tutu is the one where I don't see it changing. It's like DeMarcus Robinson last year. I remember thinking that D-Rob had all this great, contingent upside if something happened to Cooper Kupp and Puka, and he got absolutely nothing going while those dudes were out. Ended up scoring some more touchdowns once they were back. So Whittington is having the role change. Of course, though, he is not Puka, and I wouldn't freak out with it. But comfortable wide receiver 4, someone that honestly honestly, I've been happy to stash in Dynasty. I do think he is a good player. No one's Puka, but, hey, he is going to be asked to do similar things, as a poor man's version.
Lutrell asks, if you had to start one coming off of injury, would it be Ricky Bullets or would it be Terry McLaurin?
Terry.
Probably Terry. It's going to be interesting to see how Parasol and Kendrick Bourne are coexisting, because I feel like Bourne's been getting a lot of those Ricky targets as it is. So meanwhile, Juwan playing through 5 broken ribs, a low and a high ankle sprain, which is a new one for me. So we'll see what happens there. But Kittle could also be back as soon as this week, as my dogs are very excited about. So could be a situation too where we see Kittle getting fed.
I thought that was Jake sighing when you were saying that.
No, I heard it too. Like, I sighed and I thought that was an echo of my sigh at first.
All right, we're going to get deep into the running back rankings. If you have more questions, please pump those into the chat right now. You need to be subbed, smash the like, and we'll do all of that right after this. You know how much time I spend researching bets and lineups and shows and getting everything ready for you? So when it's actually time to sleep, I need it to count. That's why I switched to a Helix mattress, and honestly, game changer. I have Helix mattresses all over my house. My wife and I have one. The guest room has one. My kids have one. I got a kid on the way, and eventually they're going to have one too. Even Jared over at the studio living there, I got him a Helix mattress as well. Populated with Helix, you need to do it too. I used to wake up with a stiff back and night sweats. Now I just sleep through the night. No tossing around, no overheating. It's just comfortable and supportive. I took their quiz, I tailored it to myself, and boom, I got exactly what I needed from the mattress I deserve. I think you deserve a nice one too. So go to helixsleep.com/Mayo for 27% off and exclusive to Pat Mayo Experience listeners. That's helixsleep.com/Mayo for 27% off. Make sure to enter my show name after checkout so they know I sent you. helixsleep.com/Mayo. For over a century, Johnnie Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereux Go, Johnnie Walker introduces the Johnnie Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, blue label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to johnniewalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Did you know that October 10th is World Mental Health Day? And this year, BetterHelp is shining the spotlight on therapists, people who truly make the world a better place. BetterHelp has quality therapists working according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the United States. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally, and it works. With an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews. This World Mental Health Day, we're celebrating the therapists who have helped millions of people take a step forward. If you're ready to find the right therapist for you, BetterHelp can help you start that journey. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/PatMayo. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/PatMayo. See a bunch of people watching, only see a few likes. You smash that like button to this episode and join us every single Tuesday morning at 10:45 a.m. Eastern Time if you want your questions answered on the show. We're going to get to the running back rankings right now. Again, follow along in the description. You can just click on Ian's rankings, follow along with us, or just see them up on the screen right now. Ian, you stop me when it's not a must-start player, okay?
Cool.
CMC, Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Gibbs, A-Chain, Rico Daddle right now, assuming Chuba Hubbard is still out. We talked about that at the beginning of the show, that situation. Genty, Kyron, Saquon, Javonte Williams, Judkins, Scattaboo, Rashad White, assuming again there's no Bucky Irving, Breece Hall, Travis Etienne, Jordan Mason, assuming again that there's no Aaron Jones.
It's about right there. About right there, I'd say. I still like Bill. Dobbins has, a winnable matchup at home against the Giants and everything. And we already talked about Kamani Vidal. So that is just a point, though, where, all of a sudden, if you do have a reputable wide receiver, too, I could see it going a different direction because all those guys do have, more involved running backs out there and obviously, their warts. But, still feeling pretty good. If you did want to include Vidal in that as a top 20, Stevenson would be a very fine cut line as well.
So let's keep going down the list here, Jake, and you tell me which guys are a bit too high, a bit too low, because I think I'm pretty much on board with them. Corey Krosky merited 18, Dobbins, Vidal, Stevenson, Kamara, Swift, who had a very good Monday night game and now gets New Orleans, Montgomery, Pacheco, Kenneth Walker, Nick Chubb, Chase Brown, Tony Pollard, and bam, Knight at number 30. Charbonnet, Warren, Woody Marks is back. Tajay Spears, Travion Henderson, Kenneth Gainwell, Michael Carter, Kendry Miller. So now we're delving into these backup territories. Only Baltimore and Buffalo on bye this week. Which one of those guys do you think you would move up? And where does Swift's performance after the Monday Nighter now place him that he's taking on the Saints, do you think?
Yeah, I move him up a few spots. I'd probably trust Swift over Vidal just because, again, that's one game. Ian brought up the Haskins workload potentially in the goal line situations. And it's not that I'm overreacting to the Swift situation. It's just this is one of those ones where we talk about rookies coming out of the buys. A lot of times you'll see upticks in their usage. And Monangai barely saw an uptick. It was still Swift. And I know a lot of it was that big touchdown play. But you still can't ignore the fact that they're going to go to Swift 15-plus times a game. It is against the Saints, as you brought up. I'm not rocking them up the ranks. Again, at 20 would be my cutoff, and that's only because the Stevenson backfield situation continues to be frustrating. Even in a good matchup against the Titans, is they keep going to him, and he doesn't produce, and then sometimes they give some to Henderson. So that's the only one. And the one that I would move down, which sounds crazy because I'm talking about somebody in the 20s, but I'd move Chase Brown even further down. The fact that they started using Samaje Perine, and I'm not saying Taj Brooks is going to be better than Chase Brown because the offensive line and the offense is part of the problem. But if they're already giving away touches to Samaje Perine, I don't know. Like maybe they're going to find out they're not enamored with Chase Brown, which is crazy to say because we saw how good he looked last year. And it maybe was just the factor of Joe Burrow and the offensive line doing things last year. But do they start to open the door to say, hey, you know what? Maybe you're the problem. I don't think he is because it's the offensive line. But they already opened the door to Perine where I don't see how you can trust Chase Brown at this point to even start. I would play Woody Marks, Jalen Warren over him. And I think long and hard about Tajay Spears. If Tajay Spears was in a better matchup because they're starting to increase his workload too, I would think about it. But that's the range I would put Chase Brown in now.
Yeah. I think I would switch Woody Marks and Nick Chubb in this matchup against Seattle, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's been 50-50. I do think Chubb is probably the safer bet for, 12 to 15 combined carries and targets. But obviously, with where both guys are ranked, I'm not exactly lining up to be going with either. Seattle has been a little bit better against the run than the pass, as we've seen over these past 2 weeks, particularly as long as Witherspoon and Woolley are going to be sidelined. But I hear you on Chase Brown. That said, at some point, can we break a run? Man, I know the offensive line sucks, but 94 touches this year, guys, without a single gain of 15-plus yards. The next closest running back has 36. So really has been miserable for Chase Brown. And to Jake's point, I mean, it feels like a matter of when, not if, they really start trying to get somebody else involved. Because goodness gracious, man, come on.
Yeah, it's not been good. You want to hear the worst fantasy roster move of the year so far? Here it goes. I picked up Rico Dowdle 2 or so weeks ago once I started seeing that Chuba Hubbard had this calf injury. So I got Chuba Hubbard on my team. It's like, I'll have his backup. I'll just make a 1v1 replacement if he can't go. And Chuba ended up playing that week, and that's when he got more injured. I think that was the Patriots game. And then someone had just scooped up. I ended up dropping him the moment that I saw that Hubbard was going to play. I was like, oh, perfect. I don't need this guy anymore. It's a keeper league, so some of these very late drafted rookies hold a lot of value. So my decision came between, what do I drop, Luther Burden, Taj Brooks, or Rico Dowdle? And guess who I dropped?
Rico Dowdle.
Of course. He was of no keeper value to me. The other two guys are like last round keepers should they turn into something. And now I've lost every game since.
Dude, I can make you feel better, Pat. Industry league, I had injuries. I lost Joe Burrow. I'm just scratching to have a lineup put together. And I'm like, hey, I still have Jonathan Taylor. I'll take a chance, and I'll trade him for a cheap Chase Brown, Chris Olave, and George Kittle when he got hurt. I'm like, hey, this is future looking, and it's all a bunch of value. And, yeah, it's possibly – I think I might have one-upped you on that one.
Ian, when it comes to someone like, let's say, J.K. Dobbins, J.K. Dobbins has been routinely ranked like 20th to 25th. I'd be curious. I don't know the answer to this because it feels like he does nothing every single game. Where does he rank this season in points per game?
Let me see. Overall, he's been pretty, let's see. He's RB 18 overall. All right, he hasn't had any boom. So here are his weekly PPR ranks, though. Week 1, RB 14, then RB 17, 14, 28, 18, and last week he was 49. So last week was really his only pure dud. I will say, I mean, it just ends up, he's still got the same role. He's not going to get that many targets, but really it's just the issue where RJ Harvey, even in a game where Tyler Bidet was actually inactive, we saw Jaleel McLaughlin come in and go ahead and get his handful of touches. So I hear you, but Dobbins really has been making the most out of his touches. I do think he is their best running back in Denver. And yeah, it's going to be tough to rank him too high because he's not really a threat for these 25, 30 touch games a la Rico Dowdle. But again, in this spot, Denver's still a pretty good team with a great defense. I'm still fine firing up Dobbins in more lineups than that.
Yeah, I would also bump down. You said you'd bump down Chase Brown from 28 to outside the top 30, Jake. I'd bump down Tony Pollard as well. And I mean, part of my hate for Tony Pollard, but just go look what running backs have done against New England so far this year. They cannot, I mean, Tennessee can't run the ball anyway, but now they're playing a team that just shuts down running backs.
Yeah, and that's certainly fair. I do think that the Tony Pollard split is going to become more pronounced by the weeks that we go on, and we're going to be turning into, I would say Seattle, but like that was just such a good comparison that Ian brought up, is that's the good version. So I would say the bad version of Seattle, like the Cardinals, where we could see it like kind of like that situation, and all of a sudden Tony Pollard is now Bam Knight and the roles are reversed, just because I think this is also the Tennessee Titans possibly looking forward. Like, Tony Pollard's not a long-term solution. Spears been hurt and banged up for most of his career so far, but do they assume, hey, maybe he's our potential timeshare running back of the future? I don't think the Callahan firing is going to overhaul this offense because most of the coaching staff is still there, but they could still see, they were already doing it with Callahan and starting to see what they have in Spears. So I think that split could become more pronounced, as you said.
The other ones that I would probably bump up over those guys, I'd probably play Kenneth Gainwell even as now like the 1B, I guess I would call it, because they're getting Caleb Johnson more back into the mix just against Cincinnati's run defense. Start anyone who might touch the ball inside the 20 because they might just break it for a touchdown. Other than that, like Kendry Miller, I'd probably bump up. I'd probably play Charbonnet and Bam Knight over Pollard and Brown and Chubb in that spot. And then we have this Kenneth Walker question. A lot of the questions in the chat, Ian, are coming in about Kenneth Walker. Like, question, would you start? I have Walker and ETN as starting running backs, Carter and Chubb on the bench. Who would you trade for a target? Like, is Carter's floor higher than Kenneth Walker's? That's a really insane question, but I understand the fear of it, that Kenneth Walker's, he looks good on the field, but he does nothing in fantasy.
And it's crazy, man, because you look at the idea where, okay, Walker's the big play hitter, and he is. Like, his explosive run rate has been very good this year, and Charbonnet, it's not his game. He's got the third worst explosive run rate. Charbonnet also has the highest stuff rate in the league, which means no running backs getting stopped for 0 or negative yards. They both face A-plus defenders in the box on at least 40% of their rush attempts. So, I don't know, man. Again, from a real-life perspective, I know, like, we had Nate Tice over at Yahoo, who knows far more ball than me, and he was, dunking on my take that, Charbonnet shouldn't be touching the ball. Basically just saying, like, they want to keep Walker healthy, and there are, opportunities for Charbonnet to get you 3 yards, and you need 3 yards, and that's all fine and dandy. But regardless, man, in fantasy football here, like, it's impossible to get too excited about either guy because we have Charbonnet taking almost every single goal line rush, guys. I mean, in the games where they've both been active, I believe there's been 8 carries from the 5-yard line, and Charbonnet has 7 of them. So again, I don't quite get why Seattle can't give Walker a few more touches, but that's the reality we live in. I will say, though, unlike Carter, I mean, the Seahawks offense is actually good. I was actually looking this morning at, the implied preseason team totals versus what teams have actually done in the first 6 weeks. And the Seahawks are one of, the top 4 offenses in terms of just being far better than we expected. So that would be my tiebreaker. I still would lean Walker versus those guys. God forbid something happens to Charbonnet, we'd be looking at Walker as a legit RB1.
That's the big one. Here's another Kenneth Walker trade, which I think this is an insta-click yes. But Jake, I'll confirm with you first. His Kenneth Walker, and someone's going to trade him Nico Collins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take Nico in that circumstance.
Not even a second thought. Everything that Ian said is right. And I know people keep still to this day bringing up the fact that, like, you killed me with the Kenneth Walker in the 3rd, 4th round pick. And like, hey, bad information again. But also, we talked about it throughout the preseason. And that was the information at the beginning of August when he was supposed to be the bell cow. He can't stay on the field. And I think this goes deeper too. Like, we've seen for years, like, we look at backfields and we're like, why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? Why do they not see the same things we're seeing? And we can't know what's in the coaches' minds, and we can't know what they go through every single week and why they make these decisions. But sometimes I don't know how much we need to be told, and I'm not saying that that's what Ian was saying, but like, we've clearly been told by the Seahawks, They do not want Kenneth Walker to bell cow. Like, there's nothing we could, like, he's not wrong. Kenneth Walker looks better, performs better. He does everything better. They keep using Charbonnet 50% of the time, and we can't do anything about that.
Another trade question, Ian, comes from Aaron in the chat. Would you trade Alvin Kamara for either Jordan Mason or Kenneth Walker? I would for Kenneth Walker. Because in my mind, Kamara and Walker are about the same, except the upside for Kenneth Walker could go way up should anything happen to Charbonnet.
Yes.
Yeah, and honestly, even for Mason at this point, like Kamara, they're not throwing him the football. And then last week, he gets down the 1 yard line. They bring in Taysom Hill's geriatric ass to go ahead and score a touchdown. So I don't know, guys. So what is it in New Orleans that they have to keep using this 35-year-old coming off a devastating knee injury? And then you have the audacity to skip into the end zone. I am so fucking tired of Taysom Hill.
Eric asks, is Juwan Jennings droppable for someone like Wan'Dale Robinson? I would say yes, because if Wan'Dale's still available in your league, then Jennings probably holds no value whatsoever.
No, I was saying, I don't even need the name. The dude's playing to, like, so if I would go back to Sunday's rankings when they're like, hey, Jennings looked like he's going to play. He's healthy enough to go. Jennings plays through injuries a lot to begin with, so that was kind of why I was like, hey, you know what? I'm still going to rank Jennings as a top 30 wide receiver because he's played through a nagging foot or a hamstring or something like that, and he still goes out there and puts up top 30 numbers as their clear lead option. This is something, Pat, you've talked about in the past, that Jennings has been their number one and out there. But then we get post-game, 5 broken ribs and 17 ankle injuries. Like, no, okay, that was obviously a decoy situation, and now you have Pearsall coming back. Kendrick Bourne has clearly been connecting with Mac Jones, and George Kittle's is about to come back too. So, yes, Jennings is just straight up droppable because he's not even close to healthy.
Would you trade Dobbins and Gainwell for Derrick Henry? Immediately, yes, Ian.
100% yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Dobbins on a throw.
And then send some chocolate or whoever to, whoever you're getting on that trade. My goodness.
Well, here's an interesting one for you because you talked about just dropping Jennings, Ian. Would you drop Jennings or Darnell Mooney? I'd probably drop Darnell Mooney. He hasn't done anything. He's been hurt all year.
I'd drop both.
I guess it would depend on who you're picking up.
I don't see much value in either guy. Again, like when we have these fringe wide receiver 4s who you're probably not starting anyway, like just give me the handcuff running back over that 9 times out of 10. There is a decent list of them, guys. I was actually going through it yesterday, like just under 30% owned on ESPN and or Yahoo. And let me see if I can quickly get that. But yeah, so just some handcuffs. Tyler Algier, honestly, still sub 35%. God forbid something ever happened to Bijan. Bashaw Tootin, still only 31% on ESPN. Brian Robinson, CMC right now is on pace for like 440 touches. And I'm not saying B-Rob would be doing anything close to what CMC is as a receiver, but I could see, Jordan Mason, Elijah Mitchell. We've kind of seen that prototype before. Kendre Miller, Tajay Spears, Jaden Blue, now with Miles Sanders out of the picture. Blake Corum, Ray Davis with the Bills on bye, and maybe even Ollie Gordon as a pure handcuff. Just some guys where, again, you have a wide receiver you're not using. Give me those handcuffs because they have the chance.
Did you bring up Isaiah Davis?
Yeah, you could.
I mean, just Breece Hall has the injury. I'm not even talking about the trade. Breece Hall has injury history. To come full, like this is way back before. I was pulling up your point, Ian, about Chase Brown because I was looking at percent of explosive yards for running backs. Percent of explosive yards for Chase Brown, 0. Do you know who else has a 0, though? Chuba Hubbard. 0 explosive runs.
My guy was outscoring Derrick Henry before he got hurt. I
thought that was surprising to me.
Can I have Rico Dowdle's fantasy points in conjunction with Hubbard's to be better than Henry?
Together. That's not how these things work.
Well, that was funny because like Chuba was saving the day early on with this like garbage time receiving workload, which we actually thought was going to go to Rico Dowdle in the first place. So last 2 years, Chuba was very good. So hopefully when he's healthy, he can do his thing. But yeah, Chase Brown fraud alert, very, very much high.
Okay, 1-word answers to these questions before we get to the wide receiver rankings. We'll go me, Ian, and Jake. Just 1-word answers. Is Chris Godwin worth holding on to until he is back? I say no.
No.
Luther Burden on the boomer bust category now. Yes, for me, especially with this DJ Moore injury.
Yes.
I can't do no. It depends on DJ Moore.
He moves different, man. He looks freaking
If
good.
DJ Moore is fine, Burden was out there for 13 snaps or routes.
ETN,
I'm sorry, it's 1 word, but it matters.
Lauren asks, ETN or Breece Hall this week? I would go with Breece Hall.
Breece.
Breece, barely. Yeah.
Is there,
Panthers' run D has been better, though. They're not quite the same jokes they used to be.
is there any value to Ollie Gordon? No.
Yes.
Pure handcuff.
Handcuff.
What's he gonna do? Like the reason that Achane is like doing well in this offense because he's good. Or you think
So?
Ollie Gordon's gonna come in and catch 8 passes a game?
No, but you didn't say that's not the question. The question is, will he have value if
No.
Achane's hurt? Yes, he would be an RB2.
He'll put up the Ramondre Stevenson numbers from last week. He'll have like 32 carries for 14 yards. Great.
Can we get
thanks.
a picture of Jalen Wright holding up today's newspaper or something? This dude has been back and just, I mean, goodness gracious. Talk about a bad take by me.
Yeah, listen, when he comes back, maybe he's going to be the man. Wide receiver rankings from Ian.
He's been back. That's my point.
like back and like actually on the field and good.
Yeah.
Wide receiver.
Have we ever seen Ollie Gordon and Jalen Wright in the same place?
Go ahead, Pat. Sorry.
Wide receiver rankings for week number 7. JSN comes in at number 1. Ian, you stop me when we need to be stopped. Amon-Ra, Jamar Chase, Jefferson, Nico, Lamb back in the rankings this week. He's expected to be back. He's at number 6. Romadunze, after a bad Monday Night Football game. Devontae Adams, Waddle, London, Rashee Rice, who is returning at number 11. George Pickens, Tet McMillan, Debo Samuel, Cortland Sutton, DK Metcalf, Brian Thomas Jr., Ladd McConkey, Kendrick Bourne, AJ
It's about
Brown.
right there. Again, like McConkey, obviously, and BTJ coming off some really nice performances, and they're also benefiting just, again, from a little bit more consolidated targets. I guess BTJ is just more so Travis Hunter not doing anything, being used like 2024, Wan'Dale Robinson. But I'm feeling good about those guys. Bourne, again, having them in the top 20, that is contingent on Ricky Pearsall obviously staying out of the picture and George Kittle as well. He would be moved down a little bit. So I still think A.J. Brown's really good at football, guys, and the Eagles actually have gone from 31st in drop back rate over expected in the first 3 weeks to first over the last 3. So they've been throwing the football more often. But again, just weird vibes in that entire passing game really all season long. So again, AJB, I'm sure you're not going to have many opportunities to bench the guy, but those top 18 guys certainly are, more firmly in my circle of trust.
Jake, the injuries that I'm tracking right now, Puka Egbuka, Marvin Harrison, Calvin Ridley, Garrett Wilson, and DJ Moore, I have as projected as out this week, with DJ Moore spending the night in hospital after the Monday night game. It's, at least in my mind, less than a 50% chance that he plays this week. Darnell Mooney, Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, Curtis Samuel, Jalen Coker, Godwin, Lamb, Evans, Christian Watson, Ricky Bullets, Kavonte Turpin, Calvin Austin, Quentin Johnston all did not play last week. I would expect CeeDee Lamb to be back, maybe McLaurin, maybe Mike Evans, although probably not, maybe Darnell Mooney, and Jalen Coker, I would guess, should be back this week.
It sounds like Coker should be. Actually, so I didn't hear that DJ Moore, the hospitalization news. I've been doing podcasts all morning. So
Is that from his back? Because, I mean, I know
Yeah,
he got
what
banged
was
up
the
early
reason?
in the game, but he kept playing.
Do you know what the reason was, Pat?
I don't know.
Why?
Antoine Randall L. It was some sort of hip injury.
So the hip back. So that was surprising to me. So yeah, that changes the Luther Burden thing a little bit. The only one in that list that sounds like we should count on him is potentially, like you said, Jalen Coker's return. Marvin Harrison one will be interesting. He has enough of a window that he might be the first of what we've seen around this time of year. We usually get the ones that are like, oh, the concussion, they come back and play the next week. But if he's out, Zay Jones, fine flyer. To go back to the rankings list, though, I know you haven't asked the question yet, is that the one that I would move up and I would put up by like Drake London or Rashee Rice, especially Rice's first game back with Xavier Worthy playing well, but Brian Thomas Jr., because speaking of health, and I mentioned this in the waiver column when I talked about like power-ups, like guys like I'm giving a boost to. So we not only see the fact that, I mean, I'm watching Brian Thomas, and in my opinion, he finally looks healthy. He looks like he's trusting his body, and I'm assuming it goes back to that wrist issue, is he didn't want to take contact. He's also seen 100% the past 2 weeks, 100% on target passes from Trevor Lawrence. The first 3 weeks, it was 40%. They're connecting. They're on the same page. Brian Thomas looks healthy. Brian Thomas is back into my full-on wide receiver 1 circle of trust.
Is there any Jets receivers you would consider if Garrett Wilson is? Garrett Wilson looks like he's not playing. So Josh Reynolds, anyone?
I think, like, at the end of the day, we want to win our fantasy matchups, but, like, we want to be able to look ourselves in the mirror, afterwards. And I can't just I cannot imagine being able to do that if I put Josh Reynolds in the fantasy lineup. Mason Taylor is the only one that I think gets a bump.
If Ricky Purcell is back, and obviously Jennings probably still ends up playing, and Kittle might be back, would that influence your Bourne ranking at 19?
100%. Yeah, he'd be more down to the wide receiver 3 range.
All right, so after Kendrick Bourne at number 19, A.J. Brown, Xavier Worthy, Stephen Diggs, Olave, Keenan Allen, Michael Pittman, Wandale Robinson. At number 26, Devonta Smith, T. Higgins, Marvin Harrison Jr. in the rankings right now. Should Marv not play with this concussion, how does that adjust all of the Cardinals receivers? Because it did seem it was not Michael Wilson. It was Zay Jones who stepped into that spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would get Zay Jones and lesser extent Michael Wilson, to your point, probably up around those Tampa Bay wide receivers on that kind of wide receiver 3 borderline. So, look, it was nice to see Jacoby Brissett throw for 300-plus yards. You know, we're kind of getting similar Jets vibes, you know, going on in Arizona. Like, well, why is the backup quarterback looking like such a better professional thrower than the actual starter here? But, again, also playing the Packers and company, so also wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals, you know, lay an egg in that spot. So, not going out of my way to start those guys, but certainly would be some nice deserved bumps. I will say when we are looking at, you know, the strength of schedule moving forward, the Cardinals do have the best in the NFL at wide receiver over the course of these next 5 weeks. So if Marv is going to be available, he was starting to come on really strong before that concussion. Again, one of the worst first halves I think we can remember on that Thursday night game, but came back strong in the second half, had a good game afterwards, and was even starting to do some good things last week before the concussion. So Marvin Harrison Jr. and even T. Higgins in that same spot, guys, wouldn't mind floating some trades out for those two.
Would you play Zay Jones or Darius Slayton, assuming there's no Marvin Harrison and that Slayton plays?
I'd go Zay
Jones.
I go Zay Jones as well in that spot. Do you think that Whittington is going to get enough volume to start as a flex? I don't.
I think where Ian has him, kind of in that Jerry Jeudy, Cooper Kupp, Christian Kirk range, I think that's where he should be. So, I think it could be. I mean, touchdown reliant. I don't think that Whittington's going to go out there and put up 6 for 110. I think it could be like more of a 4 for 50, 70 at best, and then maybe the touchdown vaults him aside the top 20. But I think it would take a touchdown for him to get there.
Let's
I
go
got
down.
Zay ahead with no Marv.
Yeah, let's go into that range. So Jamison Williams is at number 30 against Tampa Bay on Monday Night Football. Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. Good game on Monday Night Football. Romeo Doubs, DJ Moore is in there right now at number 32. I don't think that he's going to play, but we'll get more information on that. I'll have that reflected in my rankings on Wednesday, and I'm sure that Ian will update his at some point between now and Thursday Night Football, so you can hit those down there. Same as Jake's down in the description as well. So Josh Downs, Tez Johnson, Sterling Shepard, Matthew Golden, Shaheed, Jacoby Myers, who, I'm sorry, guys, he sucks now. That's my bad. Trey Tucker, Ao Minor, Jordan Addison, Christian Kirk, Cooper Kupp, Jerry Jeudy, Travis Hunter. There's Jordan Whittington at number 46. Troy Franklin, Keyshawn Boutte-Man, Juwan Jennings, Hollywood Brown, Cameron Johnson, Alec Pierce, Josh Reynolds. Then we're into like Ray McLeod. Little Jordan Humphrey is interesting. If Slayton sits, where do you think that Surtain goes? Because it feels like a lot of the Broncos' like biggest things are wasted on the Giants.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I don't think that Surtain's going to be matching up with Wandale. He hasn't played double-digit snaps in the slot all season long, and Wandale, obviously, is where he's living. So, no, I mean, the Broncos' defense as a whole, I mean, I think I just saw a stat this morning from Underdog. Like, they're on pace to break the single-season sack record. So, not saying it's going to be, you know, layup city for Wandale or anything like that, but he could have, you know, I think you mentioned earlier, Pat, one of those 8 catches, 40-yard games, because I don't think he's going to be catching that Surtain shadow by any stretch.
Yeah, but they are so. Wando's actually at his highest of running outside. Now that's still only 36% of the time, so it's not like it's a huge number. It's not
here's a good thing, Jake. I mean, probably a bad thing. The game is in Denver. Every route will be outside.
Oh, there you go. Nice. So that's where you have to worry. Like Wando's probably going to do nothing, especially because he's not a pure out wide. Is that better, Pat? He's not a pure out wide receiver. So that's your Surtain. You might as well just shut him down for those. And then if he does get a sprinkling of Surtain into the slot, I just think that if it's not Wandale, I don't really want anybody else, or because I really was already hesitant on Darius Slayton. If he's not back, I'm not trusting a little Jordan Humphrey game for a second. Although, hey, wait, isn't that a revenge game? So, hey, you might get something. Is little Jordan Humphrey revenge on the Broncos?
Very misleading name, by the way. Little Jordan Humphrey, kind of a big guy.
He is a big guy.
Jordan Humphrey. Yep.
Yeah. Big Jordan. That should be a T. I feel like Little Jordan makes him sound bad. Big Jordan. Now, people are picking that guy up off the waiver wire.
I think I heard he got named that because of Michael Jordan. So the family was just like, you know, Little Jordan. So kind of cool.
He's named after Little Penny.
Shout out. Those are great.
Yeah, there's just a couple like it's not necessarily even Tucker or Myers' fault that they're so bad. It's just Geno has no time to throw. Like, he can't actually take a 3-step drop, make more than a second read to a second option and throw it to someone. Like Myers is standing wide open most of the time. So is Trey Tucker. They just can't get the ball to them.
And it was brutal last week, man. They really just massacred our boy, and Gino used to be one of the most, prolific downfield throwers. But I guess after the 8th or 9th pick this year, he finally decided to chill out. 2.5 yard average target depth, guys. That was the second lowest mark of the entire season, only in front of that game where Jordan Love got spooked by Myles Garrett and company. So honestly, in Vegas right now, like they're force feeding the ball to Genty, which is cool. And the only other guy that I'm really starting with confidence is Michael Mayer for as long as Brock Bowers is out, because they're almost using him as this chip block and then release check down option, which again, Gino is taking more than ever.
I would probably bump up Jordan Addison here. You have him ranked at number 41. I think I'd make him a very firm, like in that wide. I'd play him over Tez Johnson and Josh Downs, like that range, like the higher 30s, Jake.
I could see that just basically because the fact that like Hawkinson's almost been eliminated from the equation at this point. Like they just don't use him that much, even in the garbage time. They got to sprinkle before the bye. I think really comes down to is also how long do we get Carson Wentz? I'm not talking about this week. So like, yeah, Addison's there, but when JJ McCarthy's back, is Addison still in this conversation? Because McCarthy just hadn't shown anything outside of one quarter really. But yeah, Addison, I'd probably, like if it was me, Addison are right around the Dobbs. They feel like similar players is that you might get only 40, 50 yards, but you also might get a touchdown in there. So kind of that similar. I think Dobbs and Addison are very similar fantasy outlooks, honestly.
Yeah, I always like Dobbs the most of any Green Bay receiver in any given week. That's always me.
Well, unless Watson's back, and then just throw them all out the window.
Even so, I would still play, if you gave me a choice, Ian, to play all of those guys, I would play Romeo Dobbs over them all.
He's been the top performing one. Even last week when Matthew Golden, it looked like he was kind of breaking out because he had a great game, north of 100 total yards. But you look at the targets and it really was Romeo still sitting pretty as the one. And honestly, Watson coming back, I feel like that could be a bigger problem for Golden than necessarily Dobbs out there. So I hear on Addison, if you did want to, move him up inside the top 35, I'm not going to freak out or anything like that. But I will say that 100-yard game heavily influenced by what that 80-yard catch and run on a complete broken coverage. And then before the bye, like he got benched for some reason that we still didn't find out for the first quarter, wound up getting the bulk of his, yards and then touchdown the last drive, which is cool. I'm not trying to take that away from him, but I just don't really overly trust any pass catcher in this Vikings offense other than Jettos, obviously.
A few questions in the chat right now. Start sick questions. Let's do some roundtable. This time we'll go Jake, Ian, then me. So Jake, you're up first. Would you go? This is a trade question, actually. Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle for Ashton Genty, yes or no?
Yes, Genty.
Yes, Genty. Or sorry, Ian's your.
Depends on your roster. I think it's fair if you really did need the RB. Waddle's going to be a rest of season wide receiver one, though.
I don't know if he'll be a wide receiver one. I think that offense sucks too much.
I think it'll be a wide receiver one in points per game when we're at the end of it, but the game-to-game variance will be up there.
Would you start Woody Marks or Travion Henderson this week?
Marks
for me as well. Would you start George Kittle if he returns or Matthew Golden in the flex spot?
Kittle if Watson is back, Golden if Watson is not back.
Yeah.
Kittle either way for me. If he's active, I'm playing him. Would you drop Chris Godwin to pick up Christian Watson?
Yes. Godwin's done. Godwin couldn't get anything going, and then he aggravated the leg that he had the surgery and the injury on. Like this, Godwin's done, and Mike Evans is about to be back.
Yeah, I guess I'm not expecting much out of Watson either. So maybe, again, try to get one of those handcuff running backs instead, but I'm fine with that.
Would you, oh, we already did that one. Drop Kenneth Walker for Kamani Vidal.
No, why do we have to drop Kenneth Walker?
Yeah, find somebody else.
Leave him out of this.
I feel like if he's still available, if Vidal's still available, I could see where that question comes from then. Like, it's very fit. It's very like,
I know, but a lot of those times, I get what you're saying, Pat, too. I 100% it's probably 10 team or something like that. But a lot of those times somebody has a really good, but it's your 5th or 6th wide receiver that you'd never get to start.
Correct. Here's a hard
like
no.
Chris Olave. You would drop Chris Olave before you would drop Kenneth Walker in this situation, correct?
Yeah. Correct. 100%. Yep. Yeah. Trippy JC, I'll answer this one for you. Do you trade Devin Achane, Jamison Williams, and TJ Hawkinson for Cortland Sutton, Sam Laporta, and Chase Brown? Absolutely not. You have the two best players in that trade.
How do you write these names down? Like, what was it? So Achane, Jamison, and what was the other?
And Hawkinson for Chase Brown, Cortland Sutton, and Sam Laporta.
That's a massive overpay to improve your tight end. No.
I don't even know how much you're improving your tight end, honestly. Like 3 points a game?
Laporta's usable. Hawkins is not.
Sure, but like you can pick up, I don't know, someone. You pick up Harold Fannin if you really wanted to. Yeah, Kate Otten for the time. Just find out what Tommy Tremble if Jatavion Sanders still gets hurt. Like these guys all just score 7 points a week. It's fine. Last one here on the question front. There are actually 2 more on the question front. Would you keep Josh? No, I keep looking at that one because my scroll is over. I dropped Jerry Jeudy this week. Should I pick up Alec Ayomanor, Kayshon Boutte, Chris Kirk, or Travis Hunter? I would pick up Kayshon Boutte.
No, Ayomanor.
No, that guy sucks. You don't want anyone on Tennessee.
Yeah,
Probably,
Ridley's.
I think I lean Booty. Again, like I moved up Ayo Manor like 4 spots when I kind of realized Ridley was out. It's just such a sad offense right now. At least in New England, like we know Booty's going to be starting there. And Drake May, man, should be in any MVP conversation at this point. Sounds wild to say, but he's got the numbers. And he's leading the team that, let's face it, isn't exactly surrounding him with, a bunch of riches.
Yeah, he's
Drake May is the same thing as Josh Allen. He spreads it around. This is what happened the 4 weeks in between the 2 good booty games. Like, this is just what happens. Like, that's
what's Ayo Manor doing? Nothing.
Ayo Manor started off hotter than Calvin Ridley. Now Calvin Ridley's hurt. That's the only reason why. He's just going to now he's back into the number 1 with no Calvin Ridley.
Jefferson outperformed Ayo Manor last week. I don't get
that's because of the matchup. That is the one team in the NFL that really struggles on the complete outside Z wide receiver situation. That's just what that was.
Well, that's a good point, Jake.
Drake May is up to 6th in MVP odds. He's now 18-1. Mahomes is now the betting favorite.
Makes sense.
Really? I thought Mayfield jumped into the lead. Did it change with the night game?
Mahomes, Allen, Mayfield, 1, 2, 3, and then there's a big drop off.
Okay.
Yeah, people always forget that these markets, we talked about this on Monday's show. Shout out to the big winner that we gave out, a 4-game, same-game entry on Underdog for that Bills and Atlanta game. The 3 of us and the computer put our best plays together. Boom, hit it. And you can do that too. Code Mayo at Underdog. If you just play a $5 pick'em entry and you're new, you get $100 in bonus funds, win or lose. But if it wins, you get that money too. So go do that right now. People always seem to think, Ian, that these MVP, like to win the MVP market is who is the MVP right now, but it's not. It's who wins the award like 3 months from now. Baker would be the MVP at the moment, but this is a projection system. It's not who it is right now.
Right. Yeah, and honestly, I think as much as we can sit here and give credit for Baker for putting up those numbers, giving the supporting cast, I don't think that carries the same weight, when it does come time to vote for the guy. They're going to end up giving it to the quarterback with the best numbers, usually the first team All-Pro. I do think that Mahomes probably deserves to be the favorite for that.
Let's see. Mason Taylor, 2 firsts for Justin Jefferson. I'm not here to get into your fucking weird. You can't ask keeper questions on this show because I have no idea what the rules of your keeper league are. Like that's all.
That sounded like a dynasty question.
Whatever it might be. Like I don't know. Vidal or Krosky Merritt this week in the flex?
Krosky Merritt.
Bill, by like 2 spots, I think I have it.
I'd go Vidal Sassoon in that spot for this week. Tight end rankings for week number 7. McBride comes in at number 1 because he is quarterback proof. It doesn't matter if it's Jacoby Brissett or Kyler Murray. Trey McBride continues to get it done. Jalen Warren, Jake Ferguson, Sam Laporta, Tucker Kraft, Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, Dallas Goedert, Kyle Pitts, Hunter Henry, Cade Otton, Michael Mayer, Zach Ertz. I feel like that's the line right there. Those 13 are not bad, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, that's like that's probably the second line. I mean, the realistic first line is what? After Jake Ferguson, I think after the top 3.
It's McBride, Warren, gap, Ferguson, gap, the rest of them, then a gap.
But no, I agree, man. I do think, again, Taylor without Garrett Wilson involved is going to be getting some target bumps. But again, we just saw Justin Fields have -10 net passing yards, so can't have the most faith right there. There are a handful of guys, though, in this later range that I do think could maybe help. Oronde Gadsden, if you are in dire need of longer-term tight end help. We did see a season-high 77% route rate, even though the rest of the Chargers tight ends are getting healthy. He even lost a fumble, I think, on his first catch, and they just kept on going with him. So Gadsden is one of these guys out of Syracuse where he actually has flashed, some high-end receiving upside. Had a good game a couple of weeks ago as well. So if you do need longer-term help, I think Gadsden could be your guy. I will say, though, guys, if David Njoku dealing with a knee injury that I don't know if it's going to keep him out. This dude played, with half his face burnt off, the same week. So I'm not, guessing that Njoku is going to be sidelined. But Harold Fannin, for me, without Njoku, man, I think I would try to get him inside the top 10.
That's where I would be leaning to. I'd bump up Tommy Tremble if Jatavion Sanders misses time again into that like Jake Tongas, Evan Ingram type range of like 15 through 20. Where would you rank Kittle, Jake, if Kittle plays?
I would put Kittle right there with Travis Kelce. I wouldn't go higher yet, just because I don't know his first game back, of like how much is he going to be out there for the complete game or that kind of situation. So I think that's interesting. Also, is Ricky Pearsall back? So no Ricky Pearsall. We get news that Kittle should be full go. I could see Kittle even as high as Jake Ferguson, but I think it's going to come down to the effectiveness of like what Pearsall, then Kittle will be the first game back. So that's where I put him there. The Fannin situation, I agree with. I put Fannin, man, with no Njoku, I played Fannin over Pitts. I'd put him all the way up at 9.
I play him over Goddard in that situation as well.
No way. Goddard's been on fire.
He has been, but this is the week it stops.
How? Why?
Good,
Why does it stop this week?
Unless the primary game plan, as we saw Cleveland and Minnesota, where it's like, hey, David Njoku and Harold Fannin, we're only going to throw to you, and we're going to throw to you 3 yards down the field and pile it up. Minnesota has been very good against tight ends. Their defense is structured that way to force more things outside.
They just gave it up to David Njoku, though.
I just told you they only threw to 2 guys, and they didn't really give it up to him. He ran like 3-yard routes the entire game. Him and Fannin.
Okay, I see no reason for it to stop. But I'm playing Dallas Goedert.
Quarterback streamers for week number, let's see, what is this? 7. Jaden Daniels is your number 1 quarterback. Ian, Mahomes, Hurts, Drake May, Caleb Williams, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert. And that's assuming that there's probably no Quentin Johnston in that game. And the offensive lineman, Joe Alt's probably not going to be back either. Daniel Jones, Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields coming off a terrific performance. Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Sam Darnold, Jackson Dart, Bo Nix, Mac Jones, Michael Penix, Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, and Bryce Young are the top 20. Jake, I'll go to you on this one. Is there anyone from like the bottom of that list that you do think is a good streamer, or anyone that you think that Ian may have ranked too highly?
Too highly? We go back to Jackson Dart, like against Denver. I mean, I know what he's talking about when we talk Jackson Dart, but that just feels tough. Like because we agreed on the Matthew Stafford over Jackson Dart conversation. We're talking about streamers. So that would be one. And on the flip side, I was surprised that he has CJ Stroud down this low because he talked about him a decent streamer, and the Seattle secondary is still missing multiple pieces. They've been giving it up the past 2-3 games with all those injuries. I know he has to do it all from the pocket, but you say CJ Stroud kind of in the conversation with Stafford, and then Jackson Dart kind of behind it. Like those would be the big movers. I mean, there's other nitpicky ones here. And to go back to that tight end situation, you mentioned Quentin Johnston. I just want to bring it up. That's probably why he has Gatson as high as he does, is because he didn't have Quentin Johnston in his wide receiver rankings.
Yeah, I think I'm good here until we get to Fields. Like I've been pretty anti-Fields all year, and he's had a few good games, but I couldn't imagine playing Goff or Love behind Fields this week. Just even though it is a nice matchup against Carolina, I'm just too terrified that when it goes bad, it goes so bad.
Well, so that's the thing is it goes so bad, and I've been the proponent of Justin Fields, and I've been telling people the entire year over The Athletic that if you went with Justin Fields, you just have to play him every single week because he's a roller coaster, and he can do well against bad defenses. He can do, terrible against good ones, or vice versa. You get my point there. I was saying the Broncos would be the one scenario where, like, yeah, I could see benching him. I think I had him at QB 13, 14, 15, somewhere around there, and obviously that was still way too high. The interesting thing about the Panthers is they're actually number 1 in the league, and it's only 2 weeks, so it's a very small sample, but it's not 2 weeks of schlubs. But they're number 1 in the league against 2 decent backfields where they are the number 1 run defense. They're destroying run games right now. And that's Justin Fields. Hey, so if they're even half decent with Justin Fields with no Garrett Wilson, yeah, I don't feel as good as I used to about Justin Fields for sure.
Yeah, when I start thinking about some of the names at the bottom of this list, like even someone like Aaron Rodgers at number 22, I know that the deep field stuff isn't existed at this point. No word yet on whether Calvin Austin is going to return for Pittsburgh or not, but it's the Thursday night game, short rest for an incredibly crappy Cincinnati defense. Yes, you can run all over them, but a lot of Pittsburgh's short passing game is an extension of their run game. You can really beat them up there. I just feel like DK is going to take a 3-yard slant and turn it into 90 yards. The tight ends are doing a lot of heavy lifting with inside the red zone right now. There's 5 of them on Pittsburgh, and they're just randomly catching touchdowns. I don't know which one you should play, but it feels like Aaron Rodgers has a good beat to throw a bunch of touchdowns. If I was looking for upside here, all the running quarterbacks can do pretty well, be it Dart, be it Nix, be it Fields in the right circumstance. You give them some garbage time, all of a sudden they rush for a touchdown and 70 yards. They've saved their entire day. Most definitely on the table. But instead of CJ Stroud, who I think had the benefit of beating up on Tennessee and the decimated Baltimore defense, now that even though Seattle is missing members of its secondary, that it's still going to be a bit of a tougher task, and we might see him revert back into the CJ Stroud, who has no time to pass that we saw earlier on in the season. So it would be that matchup for me in particular that I'd be looking at. It'd be Aaron Rodgers against Cincinnati if you really need someone to come down and make the start for you, if I had to go pick someone up, because I know that he's widely available in a lot of these spots, even over like Mac Jones and Michael Penix, who could have pretty good games going against each other. It's just I don't trust those guys enough at this point, and who knows who's going to be playing for the Niners at this point as well. Like I just don't really understand that part of it. That out of all of those guys, I do think it would be Aaron Rodgers as the deep league streamer that I would be looking at.
Deep League won, and I get all your points. And honestly, Cincinnati gave up one of the best games Trevor Lawrence had this year to them. 3 touchdowns in that game. They just gave up. Somebody else just had a really good, like probably their best game of the season against them. So I definitely get your point against Cincinnati. The only thing that would hesitate my pick on Aaron Rodgers is just because it is Pittsburgh, that if they do jump out to a lead, this is a team that's be like, all right, Aaron Rodgers, you just only throw it 28 times today. Like, so I could just see that where against Penix, I'm not going to argue much if you want to go Rodgers. Against most of those, CJ Stroud has to do it, like you said, all with his arm. And if you want to make that argument, that's fine. The one I would push back on is I actually trust Mac Jones at this point. Mac Jones, like for all the people that talk about Kevin O'Connell and what he can do for quarterbacks, where did he come from? And where did he come from of a coach who has turned quarterbacks to gold in his, like, it's Shanahan, and he's made Mac Jones really good. It doesn't matter who's been out there at wide receiver. Mac Jones has been producing the entire time he's been at quarterback. Atlanta's a tougher matchup than some of the others, but that's the one I would push back on. I would go Mac Jones before Rodgers, but I don't have a problem if you want to argue Rodgers over the rest of those.
Some quarterback questions that have popped up. We'll be doing a big question and answer here in about 5 minutes because I'm going to do defense this week. Jake, I forgot to do defense last week. And like people are like, this is the only reason I watched the show is to see the defenses. So I'm going to get to those in a second. Who do you think has more upside this week, Dak or Baker? I think it's Dak, and I think it's every single week at this point.
Yeah, Dak. I mean, they're playing more snaps and opportunities than anybody.
Okay. Fields is a guy at the bottom of your league. May as well take the gamble. I just feel like Fields is owned everywhere, isn't he? Is Fields available in leagues to pick up?
Yeah, people that drop him left and right, and especially now coming off that game, he probably got dropped if waivers have already run. He'll probably get dropped after waivers when they do run.
Ian, would you go
the whole
Aaron?
Fields thing? It's good to be back, by the way, guys. But yeah, Fields, QB2, QB4, and QB7 in his other 3 starts. Okay, so yes, Carolina hasn't been that bad, but I think we can agree Carolina's a bit closer to those 3 defenses versus the Bills and the Broncos out here. So we know what we're getting with the guy. Yeah, he's been atrocious, but he's also been really freaking good. So I mean, QB10 for me, that's fine.
Do you start Indiana Jones or Picks Nix? I would start Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones. Bo Nix has not been good this
definitely.
year.
Oh, don't tell that to Broncos Twitter. They might freak out, right, Ian?
They actively are. I had, some very interesting DMs from them. So, look, again, okay.
Question.
We can go ahead and the play caller, the offensive line, the playmakers.
Who are these people? Because I so rarely get sucked into this vortex. All I had to do was retweet you, and all of a sudden these Broncos fans come out of nowhere. Are these like Broncos fans who spent the majority of their life eating paint chips and banging their head against a wall? Like, are they fucking stupid? I don't get it.
There's a pretty funny phenomenon where, people get angry in fantasy and all that and stuff. I think generally, at least in my mentions, is pretty, neutral and level-headed. But once tweets get out of the fantasy sphere and then get into real-life fandom, who people are just, rooting for their squads, like, it gets ugly quickly, man.
Yeah, it's just bizarre behavior, Jake. Like, just the commentary of, like, what they're seeing versus, like, objectively what is happening seem to be 2 completely different things.
And that's the thing. So, and it doesn't seem to matter because I've watched him just like both of you have this year, and Bo Nix doesn't look as good as he was last year. So that's like a lot of times I tell people what I see, and people don't like, well, I don't see the same thing. All right. So I went into the metrics, and then Bo Nix's numbers are not in line with last year. With the one most important thing is obviously the touchdown rate last year, late in the season. That touchdown rate was going to be tough to redo this year, but mostly it's under pressure. Last year when he was under pressure, he at least ran more. anymore. He's not running when he's under pressure this year, which is part of the value of Bo Nix in fantasy, is we want him to run. And now you look at it, and I brought this up. So he's got the Raiders twice and the Jaguars once the rest of the season. Everybody else is in the top 10. The Cowboys are 12th in pressure rate against the quarterback. Texans 5th, Chiefs twice at 4th, Packers 9th, Commanders 8th. Bo Nix might not be turning it around this year.
Aaron Rodgers or Cam Ward in the Superflex, Ian?
Rodgers. Sorry.
Okay, thanks, Ian.
I didn't hear you
definitely.
say Ian. I jumped in.
No, I thought it was a good point as well with Rodgers and also even CJ Stroud maybe moving up a few spots there. Rodgers in the Steelers passing game, guys, they're actually doing good. It's like, average to maybe slightly above average, but since 2019, which is when Big Ben originally had that elbow issue, like this is the most efficient Steelers pass offense pretty easily versus all his other additions.
There you go, Pat. That's what it was. The one game that Bo Nix threw over 240 yards against the Bengals. That was his only good game.
See, there's a good one. Someone's asking for Survivor picks. That is not on this show. This is on the Survivor pick show, which comes out later this evening. I'm still alive. I used Indy last week. Held on by a thread with the last team that I have remaining, Ian. Last question before we get to defenses. Do you spend the number one waiver wire pickup on Harold Fannin for trade capital, or is that too optimistic? Need running backs. I don't think anyone's trading your running back for Harold Fannin. I'm sorry.
Nobody trades for tight ends, period.
Yeah, I wouldn't burn the number one on.
But I like having Fannin.
Sure, but I wouldn't burn the number one way. Like, if Fannin is still available, just don't use the waiver priority and pick up Cade Otton instead. They're like the same guy.
Yeah,
and don't do it if it's your third tight end. Like,
yeah, if you have a real tight end, just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Cade Otton or Harold Fannin this
I'm
week.
just saying, Njoku is a potential trade candidate. He's already dealing with that knee injury as well. Fannin could be a sneaky, second half move. That guy, every time he gets the ball, looks freaking great.
I
would take Fannin over Otton, but it's close.
I would take Fannin over Otton this week as well. Unless we get like full practice reports from Njoku that he is fine and that everyone doesn't play for Tampa. But we might not know that because Tampa plays on Monday night.
Yeah.
Defenses. I got 4 of them for you. You ready? If you are in a pinch, these defenses are available in less than 25% of fantasy.
Can I guess one of them?
Well, there's 4 of them. I've ranked them 1 through 4, and they're in my newsletter every Monday morning. They're also up on 4for4.com in my Monday column as well. But yes, we'll play Family Feud style and go back and forth. Jake, you can be first. You're on the hot money, Jake. Let's hear it.
The Bears.
The Bears are number 1 against New Orleans. Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
At 3% ownership and defenses. Ian, you're next.
Man, I think that's kind of a trap, honestly. Like, Rattler hasn't been that bad. He hasn't been having these mistakes as much as we feel like he probably
I agree with you, but the Bears forced turnovers this year.
Yeah.
There you go. And they score.
They have been so far.
Their offense, they weren't able to score many touchdowns on Monday night, but I thought the offense actually looked really good. Ben Johnson is scheming up stuff to get guys open and keep the offense moving. If they can just put up 10 points early, it's just going to force New Orleans to throw. And that's really all that I want. Like, if you can get 40 Spencer Rattler passing attempts against you, I'm playing that defense.
The only thing better, Pat, is 52 Dylan Gabriel pass attempts. Let's go Dolphins.
Number 2 in the rankings, Miami at Cleveland would be number 2. So Chicago and Miami both under 5% owned right now. There are 2 other ones that are under 25% owned. Jake, ball is back in your court.
I'm going with the 1% rostered. I'm going with the Panthers against the Wilsonless Jets.
I actually didn't put the Panthers on that. Number 4 on the list, Ian, is actually the other side of the ball. The Jets at home against Carolina. Carolina, good at home, awful on the road. So I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, the Jets are just so freaking bad. It's tough, man. Again, I just kind of looked at the best strength of schedules for defenses over these next 5 weeks, and just the good teams, like the good combinations of real life defenses and also the good schedules, like they're already owned in 60% plus. Hey, if you can find the Patriots, the Colts are up there, the Packers and the Steelers, obviously the Texans as well, but most of the teams aren't going to be on the waiver wire. So if you do have to go week to week, it's gross. I will say I like the Miami call though, because as rough as they were in the first couple of weeks, and we know their secondary sucks, they do have some goons on that defensive line that can get after the passer. And if you do look over the last 3 weeks, they have been starting to get some pressure.
My biggest concern with the Miami defense is almost sort of the opposite of what I talked about with New Orleans, Jake, is that if Cleveland is smart, they turn around and hand the ball to Judkins 35 times and they win the game.
Which is what they should do. So, yeah,
But will
they're concerned there. So, what's your third team? I can't. 49ers?
Giants at Denver.
Oh, okay.
Bo
I can see
picks,
that.
man.
I mean, and he gets pressure. The Giants get pressure. They have 3 guys inside the top 15 at quarterback pressure rate. So
Just harass them. The issue would be that if the Giants can't keep up on the scoreboard and they just run the ball, then your defense is just, they're not going to score fantasy points. But if that can be a back and forth, then I was just getting Bo Nix's face, let stuff happen, score fantasy points.
And that's why, like, the Browns defense, despite having, again, so much real life potential, was just a struggle in, fantasy. How many, short fields starting from the 20-yard line can they really prevent?
I mean, the Giants have 2+ sacks in all but 1 game. So that helps your point there.
Jerry Jones gave the thumbs up to CeeDee Lamb this week. That's great news. Smash like while you're here. You got to be a sub to ask questions. We're doing them right now, so get them in. Any opinions on the Jags defense? I mean, they've been great at generating turnovers. I don't know if I love them in London against Stafford. I guess without Puka, it's not bad, though. They'll be, when I do my rankings, I'm guessing they'll be like right around 10 or 12.
I can see that. Stafford.
I actually shouted them out as a great, they're actually a great ad. Okay, so they have the Stafford game. I don't like that. And then they have their bye week. After that, though, guys, Raiders, Texans, Chargers, Cardinals, Titans, Colts, and Jets, weeks 9 through 15. You mentioned the Bears. I mean, the Jaguars actually lead the NFL in takeaways, and they got a couple baller defensive ends, which is what we're looking for. So I like the Jags call again just in a few weeks.
Yeah, the Stafford doesn't throw picks.
Which defenses should I target for the playoffs or weeks 12 to 14? I don't fucking know. I just have this off the top of my goddamn head.
Also, Pat, we've been doing this long enough. The one year, I don't know if it was like 2012 or whatever the year was, the Giants and Saints were completely flipped that year. It was avoid the Giants at all cost, and it was start everybody you could against the Saints because everybody's like, "Ooh, look, Julio Jones gets the Saints twice at the end of the season." And then it flipped, and all of a sudden it was just start everybody you possibly could against the Giants and avoid the Saints. All of a sudden they became shut down. It was a concern. So to look that far out, it can flip in season.
Yeah, there is an article on 4for4.com right now. If you use code Mayo50, you get 50% off. It could be a free one, though, under the research tab at the top. I think that there is a matchups for fantasy playoffs for defenses up there. If you just want to go use that resource at 4for4.com, I'm not looking at the schedules right now. I don't know. Here's an interesting one. It's a trade question. Would you, I'm 4-2. Where do you rank Rashee Rice and Ramadunze the rest of the season? And would you try to trade Fields? He already has Drake May and Devonta Smith as a combo for either of them. I would trade them for whichever one you can get.
Whichever one you can get 100%.
Yep.
Yeah, I still, I feel like I'm on an island on this one, but I still take Odunze slightly over Rashee Rice. I just think there's a chance that Rashee Rice is 90% of what he was, which is still top 15. But I just think that Kelsey's kind of woken back up over the past couple of weeks. Xavier Worthy is playing well, even though banged up. I just think that they don't need Rice to have 35% of the target share anymore.
T. Hamilton is asking questions in the chat that were very easily answerable by the graphics that came up on the screen. So, just look at the fucking screen or click on the article with the rankings in them. You're going to be fine.
Are they positional? Who do I start?
Yeah. Dart or Fields, which we've answered twice already and had rankings up on the screen. So we're good here. Do you start Kenneth Gainwell or Keenan Allen as a flex, Ian?
Keenan, especially slam dunk if Quentin Johnson is out again.
I agree that Keenan, it's funny that 3 weeks ago on the show, you didn't have Keenan Allen ranked inside like the top 5 at receivers and people were coming after you. Now people are saying like, oh, can I start Keenan Allen or this backup running back? It shifts.
How quickly it changes.
Let's see. I've had Kelsey. I traded. Okay, I don't care about your team. All right. We're getting to the point where I'm getting mad at the question, so I'm going to get out of here. Jake, when do you? Oh, yes. Yeah.
I got one.
Oh, yeah. Jared, hit me up.
Travion Henderson. Is he a pure handcuff at this point? Or
yes.
You go ahead and drop him, maybe?
Sucks.
Yes. Not necessarily. So I actually have him. I have him and Harvey in my drops, and I said, let me make this extremely 100% clear. You are not dropping him for Kendra Miller or Ollie Gordon or Sean Tucker, but they are now in the conversation where if you need Kamani Vidal to start, they're droppable. But that's about we're talking only for top 25. They're still prime handcuffs.
Since we didn't put these ones up on the screen, I'll give T. Hamilton this one, and we'll end it with this. Bears, Seattle, or Browns D this week? I'd go Seattle, Browns, Bears.
Yeah, Browns, Bears. Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I think you got it.
And I think that I think that Seattle
Maybe
and
not,
the Browns.
maybe Browns over Seattle.
Maybe, but the Browns are still the Browns. They'll find ways to like do stupid things and like somehow have Achane run 38 times against them too. At least with Seattle, like I know that Houston can't block. I know that Seattle can score, and to me that feels like it fuels Stroud to throw a bunch of times, which is what I would want. Even if he scores points, I want him throwing the whole time.
Yeah, I'd feel a lot better if Witherspoon and, lesser extent Woolley can get healthy, but I hear you there. Mike McDonald, like they are a good defense when they're healthy. It just hasn't been healthy. So
How trustable is Bill as a flex as he is complete boomer bust? Well, I think you just said it. He's not. If he's a boomer bust guy, he's not reliable. You answered your own
he's
question.
trending up, but yeah, disappointing performance. I mean, that should have been a smash spot last night. The fact, honestly, the Washington offense this year has not looked great, guys. Again, Jaden Daniels going to make some good plays, but
So, like, what we had like 70 total yards. That's his floor. I'm okay if that's your floor.
Yeah, but then we'll get Rodriguez back. Eventually, we'll get McLaurin back. Eventually, we'll get Noah Brown back. And maybe that helps him, that they just have more options. They can't focus on him. It's just, I think it was him putting the second fumble wasn't his fault. It slipped out of Jaden Daniels' hands. But him, like, ball security issues now, just all that weird stuff that crops up in what still could be a three-headed backfield if Rodriguez is healthy. And you always have to hedge against Jaden Daniels having a big game, too. It's just, it's a lot like the Brian Robinson situation from last year. Like, Brian Robinson wasn't a good fantasy running back.
No, but he was a fringe RB2, and I think you're not wrong. I think that's the perspective problem that people have in fantasy is that Krosky Merritt was always a fringe RB2, even taking the lead, and he took that lead from Chris Rodriguez before Rodriguez even got hurt. So I'm not too worried about that. But your second point that you brought up is, again, for people that might not have watched the entire game last night, is it wasn't just the fact of like Debo in this offense without Terry McLaurin, as Debo also being hurt. You saw the Bears defense was pretty close the entire game. Like they played a very intermediate short defense, which kept everything, which is obviously you're able to congest the run game more than you normally would if you had to play back further. So that was a really good point of people not have seen that in the game that probably hurt Krosky Merritt as well.
Jake, you got a podcast on the go. Tell people where to sub.
Yeah. Anywhere. Apple, Spotify, it's everywhere.
The name of the podcast.
I was getting to that.
You should lead with that, Jake. That's what the people need to know. What the name is.
Where though? So All In Speed Run. I actually recently just had Ian on the podcast, and we'll have another guest, and you can catch this full episode in between that episode and the waivers episode.
Ian, you do live shows during the week. Tell people when and where to find them.
The Fantasy Life Show. See how I did that, Jake? You can find it on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you happen to get them. I also do have a very free write-up at fantasylife.com about these rankings where, again, I just kind of have some takeaways from the week as well. So check that out as well if you are so inclined.
I will have the full updated injury report in my rankings, which will be sent to you, good people, on Wednesday afternoon. You can find them up at 4for4.com as well. Full list, every position, plus write-ups at each of the positions about guys who are either going to overachieve or underachieve this week, and I will update the rankings and the injuries within that column as the week goes along. So please bookmark it or just get the email sent to you. It's free, it's easy. Mayo Media on Substack, or just hit the description. All right? Hit the smash of the like as well, and sub to this channel and turn on your notifications, because I've heard that people are missing out on some of the shows because their notifications aren't on. Don't let that be you. You turn them on, okay? I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.